Hey everybody, Dave Clark, the Pattern Guy here. Hey, welcome back to another Chalk Talk. Today I want to start actually getting into some meat and potatoes, but I want to start from zero with everybody. So basically, we're going to talk about the trade a little bit today. Like I said, you start out as an apprentice, okay? So that's the first thing you do, all right? And in pattern making, we have to do 10,000 hours. I had a state-run apprenticeship. Most places, they don't do state-run. They'll just grab a guy in and start training him in that. I actually, when I worked at Precision Mold and Pattern, the first place I worked where I did my apprenticeship through, the machine shop boss actually had something to do with the apprenticeship council. So he made sure that me and his son actually did apprenticeship in the mold shop at the time. So I had to do 10,000 hours. Mikey did 4,000 hours in the machine shop. And then we went to school. We did school for like 2.5 years, Tuesdays, Thursdays. I think it constituted 1,800 hours of school. So that was really important. I don't know, a lot of places anymore, a lot of trade schools are not really doing apprenticeships like full blown too much anymore, which is a shame. It's what the time that I did to me. My sister's a teacher. She's really big on education. My wife has her master's degree. 10,000 hours in the shop, okay? I actually, another thing too, I got credited for 2,000 hours because I actually started working on patterns when I was 14 years old with my dad, who was a pattern maker, and another Welsh guy. He was a pattern maker also. So I helped them in the shop for 4 years. So I was actually did a little bit of time with those guys. And then when I got my full-time job, my boss could see that I knew a lot of stuff already. He actually wanted to give me 2 years credit, but the state wouldn't let him. Okay, so in my state-run apprenticeship, I only did 8,000 hours, but I had quite a bit of time before that also. So I had a lot of time. So it's the trades. A lot of people poo-poo the trades. Go get yourself a college education. You'll go further. I beg to differ. Like I said, talking with my sister on education. She has her master's also. My wife has her master's. I have more time in my education than my wife and my sister. So it's not something to, poo-poo. We're pretty vital to society. We really are. If there weren't people like us, we wouldn't have cars, airplanes, buildings, building trade guys, okay? So anyhow, back to pattern making apprenticeships. The reason we have to do 10,000 hours, 5 years, we're the highest skilled trades. And there's a lot of argument about this, okay? We're the highest manufacturing skilled trades, okay? There's the construction skilled trades also. We'll get into that a little bit too. Everybody will argue the machinists, die makers, mold makers, general machinists, we're more important. No, we are. And the reason we have a lot more time to learn things, we actually have to know their trade, not as much as what they do in that, but to be a good pattern maker, okay, you have to know machining. We have to know engineering, okay. We engineer our own, we get a drawing, we have to engineer how we build that pattern, okay. So we have to know what the molder does in the foundry. We got to know if we make core boxes, how the core maker is going to do his job. I got to know how the molder is going to do his job. I got to know what parts got to be machined. There are times where first place I worked at, did my apprenticeship, at a mold shop, pattern shop. I went through machine trades in high school, so I knew a lot of machine, you know, how to run a lot of machinery. I worked in a machine shop for about 8 months out of high school. So what happened was, they knew I knew a lot of machine work, so anytime we had metal work to do in the pattern shop, I would do it because I knew how to run all the machines in the machine shop. Okay, and then it got to the point where the machine shop boss could see, you know, I knew a little bit out there. So if we got slow in the pattern shop, instead of laying somebody off, I'd go work in the mold shop. Or if they had a job, you know, a few times they had a mold where they had to get it done and it wasn't getting out, I'd go over there. I wouldn't cut the cavities or anything. I'd just bench or make all the strapping to pull a, you know, mold has in and out and that. So, but it's you know, you start learning a lot of stuff. We'll teach you all this down the road, okay? So once you're done with your apprenticeship, you become a journeyman, okay? So there's a few different theories on where the word journeyman came from, okay? One of the biggest ones, since I learned from European guys, one of the biggest theories is that the last year of their apprenticeship, they would send their apprentices to different pattern shops around the area so that they could learn from different guys how to do things. Another theory is once you're done with your apprenticeship, you know, you could go journey somewhere else and work also. So, you know, look it up if you're really that curious about it. You know, it's just, they're just two different ways to look at it. But anyhow, you become a journeyman, okay? And then if you're lucky, and this is one of the things where I was telling you about my old German foreman, where he said that, you know, pattern making is, you know, 10% here, 90% here. For me, I believe truly that to become a master of your trade, the last step is to become a master. And to become a master, it definitely has to be in here. You have to love what you do to truly master your craft or your trade. Okay, I've been in this business, like I said, I'll say it 100 times, you know, over 40 years. I've seen good pattern makers, but they're not master pattern makers. They can't carry, you know, tell themselves. We had the one shop I worked in, it was the largest shop I worked in, I'm not going to name it. Go back to my first video and you might be able to tell what it was. But a lot of guys in there, we really didn't do pattern making. The patterns were actually made at a different shop. All we did in that shop was repair. Okay, and they were classified as pattern makers, where a lot of guys hadn't made a patterns. So I was actually with another guy that had come from an outside shop that was a real pattern maker. So one of the guys at that shop that had done the apprenticeship there, he came up to another one of his buddies and said, "Hey, guess what happened to me this morning?" And the guy's like, "What?" He goes, "Hey, I just became a master pattern maker today." And the guy's like, "How do you figure that?" He goes, "Well, I've been in the trade 10 years, so that makes me a master pattern maker." It doesn't. You know, you could be in a trade 10 years and not know anything like this guy. You know, I swear to God, a guy never made a pattern in his life and he wants to call himself a master pattern maker. It doesn't work that way, okay? You gotta master your trade. You gotta know every aspect of it. You gotta be able to do everything there is. And like I said, I've known a lot of good guys, a lot of good pattern makers. I wouldn't call them masters. I don't want to sound fat-headed, you know, calling myself a master, but this comes from my customers and other pattern makers that I know that I consider master pattern makers. I do my trade very well. That's one of the reasons why, you know, I'm doing this and that. So for you to master, actually Joe, the old German guy, he basically told me, "I'm going to make you a master craftsman." And that's what I want to try to do with you guys. I want to make you master craftsmen. I don't want you to just learn pattern making. I'm going to teach you a little machining. I'm going to teach you a little welding. One of the things I do, where my foundry is at, a good friend of mine owns the building. He actually owns a lumber mill. He gets logs in, you know, mills them up and that. When I built my house, we actually went and cut some cherry trees down, took them up to Dean's mill and milled them. He dried them. I made my cabinets, my staircase out of cherry. Poplar, I cut a bunch of poplar trees down, made all my casement trim and that, you know, we cut them up at Dean's, he dried them, I made all that. So that's mastering, becoming a master craftsman. You can do all different kinds of things. You gotta do them well though too. Just because you can do, you know, the different aspects of the trades doesn't mean that, you know, you're a master also. But I want to try to make everybody master craftsmen as much as we can. So, but a lot of it comes from you guys. You know, I'll be able to teach you hands-on stuff, school work. You know, I told you I went to school. Try to teach you a little bit of, hopefully a lot of them, getting a lot of younger guys is what I'm hoping to do here. If you're still in school, do math hugely, get into that. If not, a lot of YouTube guys do a lot of stuff and that, but we'll try to get you, you know, pattern making wise, be a good craftsman in that. So till the next Chalk Talk, guys, we'll see you. Have a good one, everybody.